as we all know, sadly, Kingdom Hearts Missing Link was cancelled, and there are theories, but we don't really know why for sure it was cancelled. But KH4 is still going to happen at some point, and we most likely need the information that was supposed to be given to us through Missing Link to potentially understand KH4, because Missing Link was going to cover the time period in the Kingdom Hearts timeline between Kingdom Hearts Union Cross and Kingdom Hearts Dark Road. So almost certainly there's going to be information that's going to be important for KH4, because the Master of Masters is going to be there. This new saga that KH4 is beginning has the Master of Masters, the Union Cross plot. All those events are finally going to, become relevant to Sora and his friends. So we probably need to know what happened in that missing link of time. So I asked on the Kingdom Hearts subreddit what they think the developers at Square Enix are going to do with that lore that Missing Link was supposed to provide us, and I'm going to go through what they said and give my thoughts. So one person mentioned the music that they used for the trailer. I know at one point when they announced that Missing Link was going to be cancelled, Yoko Shimomura, he commented hoping that the music that she made for Missing Link would somehow be able to be heard. So I also hope that from the trailer music to whatever other music she was making for Missing Link, I do hope that they make that available somehow, whether they use it in KH4 or do something with it. A lot of people are thinking that basically, however things were happening in the background at Square Enix, they probably knew for a good amount of time already that Missing Link was at least almost certainly going to be cancelled. So they probably had the time to bake whatever they were planning to do with Missing Link's lore. They probably had the time to somehow bake it into KH4. What that might look like is still up in the air. Depending how much they had in Missing Link lore-wise, they could either blend it into the story they have for KH4 and just have someone tell Sora or whatever. They could also create a DLC. Though DLCs are usually made for after a game, they could make it clear that you need to play this DLC before you start KH4. They could put some kind of message there or just throw it right in front of the game. Might as well just stuff it into KH4 at that point and not call it a DLC. So there are ways they can stick it on KH4, so to speak. A lot of people are still holding on to hope that Missing Link just becomes a full-fledged game for the consoles /PC and not this mobile gacha game. Some people were saying that some of the information from Missing Link may even get pushed to KH5, and that could be a possibility depending on when it's necessary to have that information as far as the KH main story goes, so that they could be throwing some of Missing Link's lore into the bigger roadmap as well. Another possibility is creating a movie like they did with Back Cover. That is one of the possibilities I support the most, just to have a straightforward way to basically get us the Missing Link lore. I would love to have another Kingdom Hearts game, don't get me wrong, but if they're going to cancel it, a movie would be the most straightforward. Grab some popcorn and enjoy a fun Kingdom Hearts movie. As far as blending in Missing Link into KH4, both games were being made on Unreal Engine 5, so it wouldn't be hard to put, say, cutscenes from Missing Link that were built when they were still making Missing Link into KH4, and they can basically release KH4 across different platforms. They, especially with Disney, part of the project, they are probably not going to be able to get away with putting it just on PS5 like they're kind of doing with Final Fantasy. Plus, Square has announced in recent years that they're realizing that that whole scheme of just having something on one console isn't a great strategy in general. The reason KH4 could be taking as long as it has, and part of the reason we're not hearing a lot about it, is because they're potentially seriously reshuffling things around to accommodate essentially merging in Missing Link with KH4 as a whole. So potentially the silence is a sign that blending Missing Link into KH4 is essentially what they're trying to do right now, and it's probably still this big ass mess that they don't exactly want to show up on the window right now. Another possibility people were bringing up is potentially making a whole thing where they sent those screenshots last year, and one of those screenshots had Mickey Mouse in the Scala Kylum library. Well, people were saying that one of the ways they could potentially go about this is you having a section, I guess, toward the beginning, most likely of Kingdom Hearts 4, where you play as Mickey, you go around the library in Scala Kylum, and you're reading different books that just plain narrate to you the whole of Missing Link's lore. That to me would be one of the worst things they could do, because the last thing I want to do is sit there and have to scroll through some Genshin Impact required reading to get the lore. I'm not kidding you, that's what Genshin Impact does with character lore. You have to sit there in the character menu and read through Genshin Impact's character pages to get important lore for the characters you like. There's usually no other way to get that lore. I would be down if they did a thing where Mickey picks up books and then you see whatever events play out with voice acting in Missing Link, or at least without voice acting but seeing the events happen. That either way would be a lot better, because you're actually seeing stuff happen and you're able to really take it in at a reasonable pace rather than having to interrupt your gaming by like sitting there and having to read, again, required reading for a video game. Everyone should read more. We do have a literacy crisis, but I don't think Kingdom Hearts is where people are going to get their literacy fix. People don't like just the general practice that Kingdom Hearts has of making the mobile games lore relevant to central plotline, which is something that other video games have done. Kingdom Hearts isn't exactly a pioneer of this. There's a lot of annoyance within the bigger fan base of the game requiring you to have had to play mobile games. That one PSP game, that one DS game, that one 3DS game, all to understand the lore of Kingdom Hearts 4. It wasn't too bad in Kingdom Hearts 3. You could still go through most of the story without needing to know the mobile games, but you definitely had to have played all the PSP, DS games that came in between Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3. And a lot of people get frustrated about that because it's not really made clear that you need to go through all of that. There was a media option on the KH3 menu to get you up to speed with the other games. I don't think it was clear that, oh, if you haven't played these games, you should probably look at this before I don't know, maybe that's me expecting too much babying, you could argue, but that is a general issue that I've definitely seen people in the fan base be annoyed with, is in order to enjoy the main numbered Kingdom Hearts games, you actually have to be super up to date with every single game related to Kingdom Hearts that's been released. I actually proposed a panel for my local anime convention to go over the lore that you need from those mobile games that most people don't want to bother with, showing people what happened, explaining to people that lore so they can go in well informed for KH4. So hopefully I get that opportunity. It's not great to have to go through multiple games that you didn't necessarily have the interest in playing, just so the game you did want to play makes as much sense as possible. Plus, even when people have tried to just go through the lore anyway, it's gotten to a point with a lot of people where it's just not worth it because it became so complicated, because the story wrote itself in a way that it's really hard to get a full grip around it. The best way at this point is probably to go through different people summarizing the events of the mobile game rather than trying to read it all yourself. But again, that's just not a great situation to be in general. Just the fact that characters we already knew have magically grown new ties to the mobile game events feels too contrived to some people. Yes, we're looking at Ventus. It makes people worry that literally now everyone could be a time traveler, essentially. Probably going to be some story points that are just cut completely from Missing Link. There might be a mix of some things from the Missing Link lore that just get dumped into reports you have to read, and some things that do play out on screen. Some people worry it'll truly be sure in a way that's not really satisfactory, which is always a possibility. I really hope that all this silence is a good sign, that they are being careful about how they work on this game. They've already been quiet this long. It'll probably be better if they just remain quiet until they can essentially unscramble this whole pile that they plan to be KH4 before they show it, and take their time to really polish the game and make it good. Some people think that the whole Missing Link aspect, all that lore, could potentially just be totally dropped. I really think that's incredibly unlikely, because the way Nomura has wrote stories so far, everything he has been writing is stuff that he still has in mind. It's not stuff that he exactly throws out. It may appear in a different way, in a different game, but he's never gotten patches of lore ideas in his head and not used them in some way, shape, or form. I think it's incredibly unlikely to just lose that lore completely. Hopefully, just in general, the Missing Link lore is blended into Kingdom Hearts in a understandable, clear way, and it's not weird and convoluted. People have pointed out that at this point a full console game is out of the question, but we really don't know anything at this point. Me copiuming, I could even think of a possibility of they do with Kingdom Hearts 4 what they're doing with Final Fantasy 7 and break it into parts. And part 1 is Missing Link, part 2 is more of the KH4 Sora part, something like that. And in that case, we would technically be getting a console game for Missing Link. That seems unlikely, but the copium in me sees it as a possibility. Fans still hope that whether or not they incorporate Missing Link, that they will still be able to tell the story they wanted to tell. There's also the idea of potentially making a movie that covers not only Missing Link, but also the parts of Union X that weren't in that cover, and also Dark Road. Just taking the important scenes and information and creating a movie like what they did with Kingdom Hearts Days. Though I would be worried if they used Days as a model, because with Kingdom Hearts Days, a lot of people argue that the movie really left a lot of the emotion and impact of the game on the chopping block, because a big part of what bonds you with the characters is going through the monotonous day-to-day of Kingdom Hearts Days. But it could still work to make these games into a sort of movie people can watch. You know, you might lose a little bit of the actual game element, but it can still be really good. Some people worry that trying to in Missing Link into KH4 can just make things worse, because Square Enix has a lot on their plate already. So it's possible Mickey finds the Book of Prophecies itself, maybe the Master of Masters complete version, maybe one of the incomplete versions given to the foretellers, and then he opens it and the game just sort of drops you into a bunch of Missing Link cutscenes that may be broken up by scene changes, going back to Sora, where you were just like continuing to play as Sora. Some people don't really care because the lore has become so convoluted. No matter how many retrospectives and compilations they watch or breakdowns they watch, the lore is still freaking confusing, and they just want to play a fun game. Kingdom Hearts 3 was the point where some people just completely shut down with the lore and just, again, want to play a fun game. One person even joked that calling it Missing Link was asking for trouble. People worry that trying to blend in the events into KH4 story itself would end up being really sloppy, or they would have to sacrifice a lot of the Missing Link lore, which would be a shame. Some people believe the only way to give it justice would be to give it its actual own game, even if it was just the length of 0.2, the game where Aqua is going through the darkness and it's showing off the Unreal Engine for KH3. I think that would be a bit too squished, too short. I don't think that would be a great idea. I would rather they make a movie or blend it into 4, but do it well. But that is me, and that's what the community's thinking. What are your thoughts? Comment down below what you would want to see done with the Missing Link's lore. Missing lore. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you liked me talking about random things. Also, hi!